Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everybody, for your time today. I know that the story, thanks in part to Eric and Gwen and some others who have written the story up, is familiar to a lot of people here in the room. But I'll try to do a little bit of a recap of sort of where we are, how we got there, and then towards the end talk about what's yet to come or next for Precipitate. Typical forward-looking statement here. As a snapshot, we are district-scale land positions in two very active and prolific regions in the Dominican Republic, and I'm going to speak primarily about our primary flagship asset, as Eric said, next to Barrick's Pueblo Viejo mine. A quick look at the structure. You can see here we've got a market cap of in and around $25 million today. We've got about 6.5 or a little under 6.5 million of our current shares issued outstanding subject to escrow, so those are not tradable. You can see there the fully diluted number. Cash position today about $1.3 million. And one of our more sizable shareholders is a company called Strategic Metals, who some of you will know here is a well-regarded exploration team who've had a lot of success in Canada and the Yukon. Just because I knew Mike was going to put his chart up for Vizsla, I thought I'd better put mine into my presentation as well. So we've had a nice couple of months here for Precipitate. In fact, the last time that I presented was in September at the last Metal Investor Forum, not in November, but in September. And we've had a nice run since then and hit some benchmarks and milestones and been rewarded in the market, so it's always nice. I won't go over everybody's CV on the team other than to say it's heavily weighted on the geological background side, people who have made significant discoveries and or had those discoveries taken out or bought out by mid-tier major companies. You'll see there in the middle that also includes our leapfrog expert here on the panel, Quentin Henning. So this is our land package at our Pueblo Grande project in the Dominican Republic. You can see in the middle Barrick's Pueblo Viejo, it's Precipitate ground there in yellow, essentially surrounding Barrick's project on three sides, right up against their claim boundary. It's a significant piece of land. It has seen some prior work, but we identified a number of untested or underexplored targets that we're going to focus on or have been focusing on in the last 12 months and will be focusing on for an upcoming drill campaign. You'll see there are two other operating mines within about 10 kilometers of our land package. So this is an active, mining-friendly part of the Dominican Republic. If you want to know what one of the biggest mining operations in the world looks like, this is a photograph of Barrick's Pueblo Viejo. It's almost a town unto itself. It's enormous. From lots of vantage points within our property, we look right over onto this operation. Very impressive. As you can see, currently about 13 million ounces of gold, 75 million ounces of silver, and nearly 300 million pounds of copper. It produces about 500,000 ounces a year at an all-in sustaining cost of just over $600. Barrick has put $4.5 billion into this infrastructure, and in 2019, Mark Bristow announced that they intend to inject an additional $1 billion into expansion of this operation. So this is going to be one of Barrick's Tier 1 assets for a long time to come. And with that kind of investment into the project, you know that they want to be there as long as possible, and finding more ore is obviously going to be part of the equation. I'm going to focus most of the next few slides here on that area inside the red square there. That's where most of our focus has been over the last 18 months or so and is going to be as we move forward here with drilling. You'll notice in the next couple of slides, you'll see the reference point of the Barrick open pits on the right side, and you'll also see in some of the subsequent slides a priority target exploration area on their ground as well that is interestingly situated with respect to our project. So this is a Google Earth image. You can see there in the bottom right the size and scale of Barrick's open pits and how close they are to the claim boundary, which is that thin yellow line there. One of the first things that we did when we acquired this ground is we went into this particular region and did very detailed soil sampling and geochemistry. So with tight spacing, 50-meter spacings, we took an enormous amount of samples. We submitted that data to Dave Heberlein, who is a very well-regarded geoconsultant on Vancouver Island, who is well-regarded with a lot of the major companies. He came back with some studies and pointed out to us some of these very interesting and prominent geochem anomalies that run in that north-south direction, which again ties in with the north-south or north trending structures that have been identified where much of the high-grade material exists on barracks ground as well. So this is significant in terms of where this stuff is situated and obviously from where it projects. We then went in and did geophysics. We did ground magnetics over this area, ran lines of ground IP that had not been done before in this part of the project. It's a little bit difficult to tell from this section that we've sort of snippeted in here, but we're seeing these dark blue, these magnetic lows. These ones are, some of these that we're showing here are a little bit more at depth, but there are some shallower anomalies as well near surface that again tie in with the geochem. And lastly, we did mapping over this area. And again, what we're seeing here are areas or zones of silica at surface, which is often associated with epithermal systems. Barracks Pueblo Viejo is a high sulfidation epithermal system. So the combination of these three layers of data, along with some other interpretation and other work and looking at historical data, allowed us to put together what you're looking at here, which is we've delineated or outlined 8 priority drill target areas within our property package here, in areas where we see coincidental geochem, geophysics, and geology, in areas that have never been tested before. So yes, there has been some prior drilling in this project, but not in these areas where we're proposing to drill some holes, and we will be testing some new anomalies in the upcoming drill campaign. Milestones that we've accomplished since the last Metal Investor Forum when I stood up here in September. We've delineated those targets, of course. We've also received drill permits for up to 30 drill pad locations within the property package, most of which in that area that I've outlined. We closed a $1.3 million financing in November to finance the drill program. And we've gone back to the property and set up all the drill pads and clear paths and access so that we can get in there and establish a drill campaign as quickly as possible. We're essentially drill ready. As we were entering into the commencement of a drill phase, we came up against something unexpected, which is super unusual in the junior exploration business, by the way, to come into something unexpected. But our drillers that we had used for many years in country ended up in receivership. And so we were faced with sort of 3 options here to get the drills turning. It's difficult to get gear and equipment into the DR through customs. So we looked at existing drill contractors in country. Some of those were willing to do the work, but at a pretty steep price, and we would be waiting months to get them onto site. We looked at bringing in other companies from other regions and dealing with the logistics and the time to get their gear and get them set up in country. And the third option we looked at was to go after the gear that was in receivership and acquire it ourselves. And yesterday we put out a news release announcing that we had acquired that equipment and all of the inventory, consumables, supplies, and we've essentially purchased, in conjunction with Gold Quest Mining, who is another junior Dominican Republic explorer, we've purchased equipment to assemble up to 5 man-portable drill rigs. These are the same rigs we've used on all of our drill campaigns in country over the last several years. When a company goes into receivership, obviously there are people that lose their jobs, so we've been able to assemble a very well-qualified, experienced team who understands this gear and this equipment and operating in this country very well. We've brought them into the team as well. And so what this is going to allow us to do is to drill at a significantly lower per meter drill cost and have full-time or at least 50% access to this drill equipment as we go into this pending drill program and subsequent programs on any of our projects in country. So our expected timeline here is we're going through some of the inventory right now. We're looking at what equipment is going to need to be purchased in order to top up the inventory so that we are equipped to commence drilling. I expect that to take place in the coming 4 weeks or so, and at that point in time, we'll have the drills turning and underway and testing those multiple targets within that prospective area next to one of the biggest gold mines in the world. I've essentially covered that. The summary here, we're fully permitted, we're fully funded, we've got access to drills, and we're expecting to do a 2,000 to 3,000 meter drill program starting in February. That's my time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or get into specific details at the booth outside. Thank you.